I finally played Kingdom Hearts, and this was one of the biggest surprises of my channel so far. Like, seriously. So stick around and we'll break down the origins, historical significance, nuts and bolts, and my thoughts filtered through a modern lens, as well as why I think skipping Kingdom Hearts 1 may go down as a massive blunder for 16-year-old me. Get ready for one hell of a world-bending, genre-flipping, intellectual, property-orgified episode of No-stalgia. 2002 was a weird year. 2001 ended with one of the worst events in American history, certainly in my lifetime, and you definitely got the sense that the country just wanted something to take their mind off the impending, traumatic, and demoralizing war on terror that would change so many lives across the world. But capitalism will capital, and the year saw many iconic pop culture moments throughout. Like, who can forget Michael Jackson dangling blanket over a balcony, or the release of Eminem's iconic Lose Yourself, which stands as the one Eminem song I can listen to today and still sort of stomach Argue With Yourselves. Or Disney's release of an all-time great animated movie, Lilo and Stitch. Disney, feels like we might be talking about them a lot today for some reason. Anyway, and yeah, I looked like this. I had just received my first Dan black belt in Taekwondo, had a full-ish head of hair, and was definitely getting a little too old and too cool for Mickey, Donald, and this fucking dog, or this one. Final Fantasy VII had transformed my gaming journey less than 5 years before it, and 8, 9, 10, and Tactics were all on a varying scale of greatness to me. Needless to say, I consumed any and all Final Fantasy related or adjacent games throughout that period, and these games were a big reason that my shelves were populated with JRPGs and Square titles above all else. And here comes this. I remember seeing the trailer and being so very confused. While many of my peers were excited by the thought of Disney characters being in a massive video game from Square, my thoughts were far less positive. This? Over a new, I don't know, Xenogears? Or Vagrant Story? Why does that look like Sion Barzad but prepubescent? Though, I guess that would make his relationship with Dominique a little more palatable. Why are Goofy and Donald his co-mains? And why does Cloud look like a wandering vagabond? Pooh? Tigger? I mean, come on, is this a game for sophisticated teenagers or is this a game for freaking babies? Now, I was definitely not the demographic for Kingdom Hearts. At least, that's how I felt in the moment. So after a dozen more games and 2 decades since, I've gone without touching a single second of the series, not even one. But that all changed a few weeks ago when the action RPG classic fell directly in my lap when a whopping 8 of you voted to have me cover it here right on this channel. After 28 hours and 20 odd minutes of hacking, slashing, and casting, was it worth the 20-year wait? Well, let's get into it. For those that may have been living under a heart-shaped rock since 2002, Kingdom Hearts is an action role-playing adventure game with an ensemble cast that can only be described as a chimera of Disney, late 90s Square properties, and chains. Lots and lots of chains. I'd say it owes equal parts to both parents, but in very different ways. The original game released here in the United States on September 16th, 2002 to overwhelmingly positive reception. It currently sits at an 85% on Metacritic with an 8.8 score amongst users with over 1,200 user ratings. It also holds the award as the 21st best PlayStation 2 game of 2002, which, considering the release schedule that year, includes some absolutely brilliant games. This is quite the accomplishment. If anything, the positive critical and commercial echo across the release of Kingdom Hearts made me even more ensconced in my opinion that it just wasn't for me. You know, that counterculture youth streak that you have at that age. It was real strong in me. And just check my MP3 player if you need any further proof of that. I was hit, man. I mean, what can I say? If it was mainstream, cut it out. And this felt like the most mainstream, cotton candy, bizarre mashup to me. But the people spoke loudly, very loudly with their dollars, with the original release of Kingdom Hearts going on to sell 6.3 million copies over its lifetime. If you combine the 1.5 remix on the PS3 in 2013 selling 1.6 million, as well as the 1.5 and 2.5 package released on PS4 in March of 2017, going on to sell 1.8 million units, the first game in the series is still the strongest selling one overall, with close to 10 million copies out there in the world. With that level of success, you could say the next 20 years seem pretty obvious in hindsight. This game's impact on the Squaresoft output beyond its release cannot be denied. It absolutely was the blueprint for their most beloved series going forward. Final Fantasy X would be the very last mainline turn-based Final Fantasy game ever made, found the franchise at a cross-section with Kingdom Hearts' action-focused gameplay that utilized familiar series spells such as Blizzaga, Cure, and Fyra, as well as potions, high potions, and ethers. I doubt Square would have run as far, as fast, with the action-centric games in their main series without the immediate success of Kingdom Hearts. And this crossover was definitely more than just a few names of items and spells. This was truly a blended family. Tetsuya Nomura is heavily associated with the look of this era of Final Fantasy games, and he would go on to lend his character design expertise to the look of Sora, Riku, and Kairi, as well as making the rest of the characters feel cohesive in their respective worlds. Hironobu Sakaguchi and Shinji Hashimoto, two juggernauts of Square production, were involved heavily as producers for the project. This truly felt like the melding of Disney and Square DNA in a way that I don't know we had seen before and possibly haven't even seen since. Well, maybe stuff like Fortnite and Fall Guys do something similar, but those are more skins of characters from other IPs and less the merging of them that ends in a homogenized pile. The Kingdom Hearts franchise cannot exist without Disney or without Final Fantasy, at least the first one can. Now, when you boot up the PS4 collection, you are greeted to a menu of, well, minigames. Apparently they're in the order you should play them based on the storyline. But right now, we're interested in only one. Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Final Mix. Now, Square really loves the long-winded and absurdly confusing naming model for this series, which I guess flows right in line with the story of the series, but I digress. Speaking of story, now this is a part of the game I have sort of mixed feelings about. It wasn't nearly as juvenile or mindless as young me would have expected, but I also wouldn't say it's incredibly strong. The game begins on a small tropical island called Destiny Islands, where Sora, Riku, and Kairi live together as friends. They are joined by a variety of Final Fantasy X characters, including Tidus, Wakka, and the rest of the crew, whom you never see again in the game, by the way. However, one day their peaceful lives are interrupted when the Heartless, mysterious creatures that consume hearts, attack the island and kidnap Sora's friends. Sora is then joined by Donald Duck and Goofy, who are searching for their missing king. Of course, it's Mickey Mouse. The three of them set off on a journey to find their friends and uncover the truth about the Heartless. And this is where the Walt influence comes in heavy. No, not that Walt. This Walt. Most every world is based on and populated by Disney properties. These include a variety of worlds, including Wonderland from Alice in Wonderland, the Olympus Coliseum from Hercules, Halloween Town from Nightmare Before Christmas, and Aladdin's Agrabah. In each of these levels, Heartless have taken over and you join up with one iconic Disney character to reclaim their world. Now as they journey on, Sora runs into Riku, who seems to be turning to the dark side. He works side by side with Maleficent, hopes that he will find Kairi and get her heart back. There are a variety of villains involved, from Jafar to others, but the biggest baddie is Maleficent. Each world has its own end boss that makes sense for the area they're in, and eventually you venture to the end of the world where you match off with the true big bad sorry. I mean Ansem. But I mean, you can see how I can make that mistake, right? Like, that's not crazy, is it? In this final showdown, Sora and his friends fight Ansem and his ultimate weapon, the Keyblade of People's Hearts. In the end, Sora is able to defeat him, close the door between worlds, and restore balance to every world, but he's also forced to say goodbye to his friends as they return to their own worlds. Unfortunately, in the process, Kairi and Riku are separated in the chaos, as well as King Mickey. So Sora is left to find a way back to them alongside Donald and Goofy. With this, the game ends on a cliffhanger, setting the stage for the next installment in the Kingdom Hearts series. It was a simple story and generally enjoyable enough to keep things moving. Classic dark versus light tale, really harkening back to the original lineage of Final Fantasy. All the characters outside of the new characters created sort of feel disjointed and tertiary to the overall plot. Honestly though, it was better than I expected, and I know it becomes a jumbled mess after this installment, so I'll chalk this up to a minor victory for the game. The new characters made for this series are definitely the best parts of what Kingdom Hearts sets out to do thematically, with a friendship/love triangle dynamic that, while relatively straightforward, continues to drive your interest. But I'll tell you what truly did surprise me about this game. The gameplay loop is addictive. The controls are a little stiff, the platforming feels wildly outdated in places, and there are definitely a certain amount of warts all over it, but this is fun, man. Hella fun. There's just no other way to put it. Also, surprisingly difficult. Though apparently I made it as hard as possible for myself by choosing the sword and destroying the shield, but how the hell was I supposed to know that? I actually went in completely blind, but I found myself getting my ass handed to me early until I got some levels under me. My defensive stat was pitiful because those initial choices matter a lot. At its heart, this is a hack and slash, but you will be punished for mashing, believe me. Controls are easy enough to understand and generally get the job done, except in water. Like, yo, fuck Atlantis. Like, okay. Rant time. This seriously might be the worst water level that has ever been fucking made. Like, all the fun I was having went out the window, like, immediately. Like, what is this? What is Atlantis? You know what, too? My game crashed during this level. The only crash I had all game happened during this level. I lost 25 minutes of swimming the fuck around and holding on to sharks and shit. Oh my god. Y'all pray for me, because I would literally rather do anything than to play this fucking level one more time. Yo, and if I have to hear Under the Fucking Sea one more time in my life, this is it. I might need a straitjacket. Like, I would rather be eaten by giant Ursula than to play this level one more fucking time. No more water levels. Please, I beg of you. No more water levels. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Combat itself is fantastic. Feels simple and clean, but weighty, and you do get some really solid feedback. You gain stat increases like you're playing any other RPG, along with picking up items, abilities, and new spells to learn along the way. Goofy and Donald, as well as all the other guests, are not controllable, but they will level up and use the skills they learn, as well as weapons you find or buy for them. They can have some basic parameters set. Maybe this is the original iteration of the Gambit system from Final Fantasy XII. Pretty much act as liabilities, whatever you select. Except for Beast though, he earns his name. The new abilities you learn can be assigned and use the action point stat. This is where you really get to build out your Sora, as the choices you make initially alter not only your starting statistics, but what level you learn certain abilities, or if you even learn them at all. So if you're new to this game, I would say consult a guide for best starting choices to make your early game just a little easier than mine went, because I seriously was blown away by how difficult it was initially. Now you even get summons, 6 of them in total. These are all well-known Disney IP characters such as Simba, Genie, and Tinkerbell. They do add a little bit of depth, but I found myself relying mostly on my main attacks and a few choice spells. Outside of the combat is an exploration aspect that I truly enjoyed. That was probably my favorite part of the game, to be honest. Each world is pretty well realized, albeit unevenly, and often have gimmicks that make them feel unique. There are a lot of secrets to uncover throughout, and each level has reason to come back to them. These primarily are accessed through new Trinity points, which you will continue to learn throughout your playthrough. Also, the movement abilities you learn while playing will also allow access to new areas you can't reach initially, giving this a little bit of a Metroidvania vibe within the levels. But all worlds certainly are not created equal. Something like Halloween Town versus the pirate ship are not of the same quality. Boss battles also vary wildly in their quality. Some are incredible, like Hook or Riku, while others are absolute dog shit, like, well, you guys know. Now, you will probably need a walkthrough at points. A lot of the places can look pretty samey, but overall, the sense of wonder and exploration involved really outweighs all the rougher parts. Though, the gummy ship sucks. I mean, like quite a bit. Ratchet & Clank did it better. I did find myself putting a few little pieces onto my monstrosity late in the game, but otherwise, I mostly finished it the first time and stayed away. And the gummy ship menu might be the clunkiest menu I have ever used. The menu system in general leaves something to be desired, and I felt an auto-equip or remove all would have done wonders to speed up play between character swaps. The gameplay definitely feels like it was made in 2002, but I'll be damned. It's actually pretty fantastic in a lot of ways. You can almost draw a direct line between this and Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is like kind of its great-great-grandpappy. Graphics also were a pleasant shock. The remaster looks surprisingly crisp. Some assets do not scale well, and of course it looks like a 20-year-old or more game, but the stylish aesthetic helps to make this one not feel quite so dated. The representation of each Disney character is very solid. You will not mistake these characters for anyone else, and they translate well to the low poly, almost cel-shaded stylings. The redesign of Donald and Goofy to match the world also fits pretty well, with a great use of primary colors to make each main character feel distinct enough to pick them out quickly during a battle. The graphics can get pretty same-ish in some worlds, and the design being uneven extends well beyond the graphics. Monstro is particularly egregious. Time and/or budget must have been an issue for some of these areas, because they are not all equal. Animation is slick and smooth for the most part, especially in combat. The cinematic animations though, feel a little stiff and surely of the time. Summons look really cool, perfectly over the top for this time period of Square, and yo, I'm like legit terrified of Peter Pan's face, like why in the fuck does it move like that? The graphics are clean, imaginative, and robust enough to work pretty reasonably well in the modern day. They aren't perfect now, and I would argue probably never were, but they do their job and are pleasant to look at. Yoko Shimomura was a little bit of a lesser known composer at the time of her start of the Kingdom Hearts series. Now, she had composed most of Street Fighter II's OST, which, of course, a very big deal, no doubt. But her work with Square was relegated to lesser known games such as Front Mission, Parasite Eve, and Tobal No. 1. This game was really her opportunity to make her stamp, and she definitely did that. From the very second you open the menu, her melancholic piano melodies feel both somber yet adventurous. This is a standout song in the game, and if you recognize it within my composition beneath my speaking right now, give yourself 3 keyblades. As this is full of Disney properties, there are lots of reworks of well-known Disney songs, but it is her original productions that really stand out for me. Each area feels appropriate for the world and really lends itself to the wonder and awe of this adventure. She stated that her primary goal was to create compositions that would make players feel good during gameplay and to accompany the action-heavy aspects of the series. I'd say it does all of that and much more. She herself cites the title track as her favorite composition that she's ever done, and it does remain the standout track for me, though there are quite a few incredible pieces that sit cleanly in the pantheon of Square's top productions. Overall, the soundtrack is fantastic, and the updated orchestral arrangements that are utilized here in the final mix do quite a bit to add a little more life to the PlayStation 2 originals. Now, the question I'm sure is on the minds of those who were like me, Kingdom Hearts novices who had never played any game before. Is Kingdom Hearts worth playing today? Fuck yeah. Kingdom Hearts was an incredible experience that I found myself wanting to rush right back to. It felt like a piece of the Square legacy that I was missing, and for no other reason than to say I had been through it. The gameplay feels like a timeless twist on the action role-playing game genre, despite its rough edges and growing pains. It's very apparent that the legacy of Kingdom Hearts lives on in Square Enix's current output, and despite me not always loving the full fade from any mainline turn-based Final Fantasy games, it's hard to deny the impact of this game. You know, sometimes you find yourself picking a game for the tube and truly regret it. I thought I might regret having to play this series that, for all intents and purposes, I'd completely written off for decades now. Not only did I not regret it, but 16-year-old me is eating a whole lot of crow right now, like a black, misshapen, heartless crow. And I'm pretty excited about that. Now, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to click on this playlist to watch additional nostalgia videos. And don't forget to check out the community tab to vote on the game that I play next. Hopefully this time, we can get more than 8 votes. Finally, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below about your favorite Kingdom Hearts game and if you think I should continue along with the series. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, eat some veggies, moisturize your face, and please, try a new game series. Do it for me. Peace.